Well, compounding your wealth can be life-changing for you. We all know that, we hear about it. Let's try and break it down in numbers. Compound interest is essentially interest on top of the interest you are earning, right? Albert Einstein, one of the smartest human beings on the planet, called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. And let's try again and break down as to why that's the case. Well, 100 bucks, 10% over 10 years simple interest gives you 200 bucks, simple. But the 100 rupees compounded at 10% over a 10-year period gives you 260 bucks. That's 30% more. Let's stretch that over a 20-year tenure and see how it unfolds. 100 bucks, 10%, 20 years simple interest gives you 300 bucks. But the same 100 bucks, 20 years, 10% compounded gives you 700 rupees. That's more than double of the 300 you make on simple interest. Let's stretch it a little bit more. Let's stretch it for the work life of you and me. Typically, we'll be working from 25 to the age of 55 at the very least. So, at the very least 30 years. Let's simple interest 100 bucks over 30 years, 10% gives you 400 rupees. But the same 100 rupees compounded at 10% over a period of 30 years gives you 1700 rupees, more than 4 times. That's essentially the difference between wealth creation over a 30-year period and building a retirement corpus, right? Let's stretch this a little bit more. So how can you make compounding work for you? How do companies as well as investments compound over time? Well, companies typically will make a profit, right? So if a company is making a profit on 100 rupees a share of 10 rupees, right, a profit of 10 rupees, and they reinvest that profit back into the company and make 11 rupees the next year, they make 12.2 rupees the year, 12.1 rupees the year after that, and they make 13.3 rupees the year after that. So they're compounding on top of the 10 rupees that they are reinvesting back into the business for you. And that is how compounding really essentially starts to kick in, right? But in contrast, say for example, you park your money in a fixed deposit, 390 days, roughly 1 year, and you receive a 10% fixed deposit return, which currently is unheard of. But let's assume for a like-to-like comparison that you do get that 10 rupees in fixed deposit on a 100 rupee fixed deposit that you invest. Now, on that you will pay your taxes, which will be maybe 10 to 30% roughly, and you will get back 9 rupees, which you may reinvest or you may not, and you may not get the same rate of return on that. So, two things really governing as to how you ought to invest in companies. One is that your rate of return is slightly higher and remains higher over an extended period of time, which is 10% or higher. And second is that the company has a long runway, there's a huge demand for the product, and over the many years that the company continues to sell that product, it is able to continue to sell the product to the consumer, and the consumer continues to come back to the company to purchase the product. So these two things are the two key factors if you're looking at compounding in companies. Now, let's take the example of compounding that works against us in the current business environment and in the current consumer environment. You have your credit card. If you do not pay your credit card debt, then month on month, month after month, the charges as well as interest levy will keep compounding, and that will add to your liability, and it's compounded month after month, and that adds to the benefit of the credit card company, and it adds to the loss for you, the consumer. So I have broken down two very important aspects. One, where compounding is working for you, and second, where compounding is working against you. Keep that in mind.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.